having some difficulties.
Yes. Introduce it like it's the beginning. Here we go.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome to Wise Guys. These guys know sports. Back here live on the Worldwide Sports Network. Everybody, remember, go follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys. Remember, these guys know sports. Sitting alongside my co-host, Mr. Clarence Dixon. What's up, Clarence?
Hey, what's going on to you, brother?
What's up, man? Hey, we feeling pretty good. Monday is May 17th. We back live on air on the Worldwide Sports Network. We excited about it. Back in the house talking sports. How you feeling about it?
I'm feeling good, man. You know, this is where we belong. You know, this is who we are. This is us, the Wise Guys. The Wise Guys is back, baby, and we come back with full force.
Yeah, for sure. We got an action jam-packed show ahead. We're going to preview the NBA play-in games that's taking place tomorrow night. We got Jason Tatum going up against Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. We got the Pacers going up against the Hornets. I'm excited about that matchup. You know, we also got LeBron and Steph facing off against each other Wednesday night. We'll talk about that on Wednesday's show. But also later on, so we're going to talk about the issues that's going on in Green Bay right now between my Hall of Fame quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and the Green Bay Packers. Right now, I'm being nice, Clarence. I'm being nice saying that, you know, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan because right now I really want to disown the Packers franchise. I want to disown being a fan altogether the way they're treating Aaron Rodgers. We'll get into that with them later on. It's tough, man. It's tough. Bear with me, man.
You know, I'm going to bear with you. That's why I got this stuff for you. But before we get into the shows, man, big shout out to Dre Will Production for, you know, producing for the Wise Guys. These guys know sports, man. Big shout out to my guy.
For sure, man. Let's get right into the NBA, and let's talk about the NBA play-in games. That's Adam Silver, commissioner for the NBA. He implemented a new format with the NBA playoffs, and the new format consists of the 7th seed facing off against the 8th seed and the 9th seed playing the 10th seed. You know, and the way it's set up is whoever is the 7th versus 8th, whoever wins that matchup gets the 7th seed in the playoffs. Whoever loses that matchup plays the winner of the 9-10 seed. So my question here for you is, as we open up the show, how do you feel about the new play-in format, and do you believe it made the NBA season more competitive?
Well, how I feel about the play-in format is it gives the teams that was 9th and 10th in their respectful standings, that it gives them another chance to actually make the playoff. Yeah. I just think in this moment right now, you know, we have the pandemic, it kind of messed up everything. You know, players were speaking like we need to have another like play-in tournament and we need to get it played. And I think the NBA and Adam Silver, he did a nice job of setting this up and giving teams that was ranked 9th and 10th in their conference to give them another chance, because, you know, believe it or not, when you try to make the top 8 seed, like it's a lot of scenarios, Trey, to make them top 8. You got to win some, you got to lose some, or you got to have other teams lose. It's just too much. And I think this play-in fits so much perfect in this NBA. Like, it gives teams a lot of chances to make it, though, Trey. A lot of teams. Like, I'm really a big fan of it. And I really think it made the season more competitive because it gives teams like the Warriors and the Grizzlies another chance to make the playoffs. Even though reality, they didn't make the playoffs if we had this play-in.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it made the NBA more competitive because there's been times in previous seasons where there might be a 9 or 10 seed who I believe was a better matchup for that 1 versus 2 seed than the 7 versus 8 seed. So this play-in tournament gives teams that are that 9th or 10th team an opportunity to be able to win a few games and find themselves in the playoffs. Yeah. Like this year, we got Steph Curry going up against LeBron and AD on Wednesday night. We got the Warriors, I think they're the 8th seed, and the Lakers are the 7th seed. So Steph been hot. Yeah. He's a legitimate NBA MVP candidate. And in a one-game scenario, you never know what could happen. We all know the Lakers are a better team when healthy than the Golden State Warriors. But because the Lakers are ailing right now, LeBron dealing with injuries. Anthony Davis dealing with injuries. Steph Curry, if he gets hot, they could beat the Lakers in a one-game scenario and find themselves in the playoffs, matching up against Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns, which is exciting because it puts pressure on LeBron James and Anthony Davis to have to beat the Spurs or the Grizzlies. So I definitely think it's made the NBA more competitive, you know, from that standpoint.
Steph is not the MVP. Just want to let you guys know he is not the MVP.
I say he's MVP candidate. I didn't say we're talking about the NBA MVP race on a later show, but I think he's a candidate. And like I said, I believe that is why I believe this is competitive. because it gives a team like the Warriors or the Grizzlies to be able to upset the Lakers and put the pressure on the Lakers.
Yeah, I just think, like we were saying, I just think like teams like the Lakers and like Boston, Golden State, this is their chance to like, fight back, claw back into the playoff games before stuff get worse. And I think for Golden State, like, they've been fighting all year. Steph Curry been leading this team. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, they haven't been playing all this season. They 17-8 with each other this season. So I think that matters the most when them guys are actually playing in this play-in game and fighting for a playoff spot, which is making it more interesting and more competitive.
Yeah, and on top of that, in years previous, especially I believe in the Eastern Conference, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's been teams in the East who's been below 500 who have made the playoffs. Yeah. Those teams that are below 500, that's an 8th seed making the playoffs, they don't deserve a playoff spot over a team that's a 9th or 10th seed. Just because you a few games better than a 9th or 10th seed doesn't necessarily mean you should qualify for the playoffs. You got a bad record, you got a bad record.
Right.
So it gives these teams that are right behind those teams a chance to be able to play themselves into the playoffs. Like, if you got a bad record, you shouldn't qualify for the playoffs automatically because you're an 8th seed. You shot to beat one of those 9 or 10 seeds who's right there with you. So I definitely think it makes it more competitive. So do you think the NBA is going to make this play-in tournament, stay? Like, is this going to be something that's going to stay around? Like, and they're going to keep this in place, or is it going to just go away after 1 year?
If I had to like answer that though, Trey, I just think for Adam Silver, like during the offseason, like when the NBA actually go back onto its original like format, 82 games starting in October, preseason September. I think Adam Silver got a lot of thinking to do because they've been getting a lot of good ratings on the play-in. Like, and I believe it made it more competitive. It made it more competitive for the teams like in the 9th and the 10th to give it a one more shot. And if you have to ask me, do you think they should keep it? I think they should. I really think they should because this will help out teams that don't have a winning record, give them another chance.
For sure.
Yeah. So let me ask you this too though. What do you make of LeBron James comments saying whoever came up with this idea should be fired?
Oh, I think LeBron James should be ashamed of himself, those comments. I love LBJ. We know LeBron James, 4-time champion, multiple MVP award winner. I ain't got nothing but respect for LeBron James. Definitely one of the top 5 players to ever play the game of basketball. But LeBron James, maybe top 3, maybe we can have that argument on a different show on a different day. But I just think LeBron James is really been kind of a hypocrite in the situation, Clarence. I'm going to tell you why. Because last year, I remember when LeBron James' Lakers in the bubble was a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. They might have been the number 1 seed or number 2. I don't necessarily remember. But they were a top 3 seed in the West last year. And I recall LeBron had a comment where he said teams like my Portland Trail Blazers, the Memphis Grizzlies, they can fight it out for that final 8th playoff spot in the playoffs.
Right.
And he said this last year, and now all of a sudden, because his team is struggling with injuries this year, and because they're in the play-in game, now LeBron James all of a sudden want to say whoever created this idea should be fired. Ain't it funny how things change after a year? I think LeBron James is wrong here, and I think he's been a little bit of a hypocrite because it's his team now that's in a position where they can get knocked off and not even participate in the NBA playoffs at all, even though I don't think that's going to happen. But it's just kind of hypocritical by LeBron James doing this.
It looks very hypocritical because it's like the table turns on him. You was a top 3 seed in the bubble. Now you're a play-in team. So all the pressure is like kind of sort of on him though. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like the teams that like the Portland Trail Blazers and the Memphis Grizzlies, they had to crawl back until to really fight for a play-in spot. In Portland, they worked their asses off to get to second round from the play-in. Yeah. So I think that it was kind of hypocritical that he said that. I just think he was very bothered by what the reporter said, or it was a bad game that game.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to answer that question. So it probably caught him off guard a little bit. But in reality, I just think I just don't think he's really overreacting to this, though. You know what I'm saying? I think this is a great idea from Al Silver and LeBron. He's just kind of sad because he's in the play-in,
right?
And he don't know how to hold his emotions too.
Yeah. The tables have turned this year.
Yeah.
The Lakers are now 7th seed in the Western Conference, and we all know if the Lakers were healthy, they would be a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. No questions about it. But because his team was in the play-in the game this year, LeBron has an issue with it. But question for you, as we get into the NBA play-in games, which player do you believe had the most to prove in the play-in games? Which player? Who would you roll?
This was a good question. But if I had to tell you which player had the most proven player in this play-in game, it's definitely Jason Tatum. Let me tell you why. He just lost his sidekick, Jaylen Brown, to the season with a wrist injury. Like, now the table's turning on him now. They looking at him to lead the pack. And believe it or not, him and Kemba Walker are the two main scorers on the team now since Jaylen Brown is down. So now they got to fight a good Wizard team. Honestly, Trey, a good Wizard team that can really like get off to a fast start and play real fast with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. I just certainly think that like Jason Tatum has the most pressure in his play-in game over LeBron James and Steph Curry. Over LeBron James because he lost his sidekick. And now you're going to be seeing him take a lot of shots. You're going to see him take a lot of shots that he took before and that he didn't feel comfortable taking because now they lost their other scorer, their other superstar. Everything has been relied on him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm picking Jason Tatum with the the player that got to prove something.
Okay, so you roll with Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
I disagree with you. And I'm going to tell you why. You said it at the beginning of what you were talking about. When you first started talking, you mentioned about Jaylen Brown. We all know Jaylen Brown is an up-and-coming star. Yeah, I said star in this NBA. He has formed a dynamic duo alongside Jason Tatum. But because Jaylen Brown is injured currently, I believe the Boston Celtics expectations got thrown out the window and they slid tremendously because I feel like now they're not a team that we believe can actually make a legitimate run in the Eastern Conference.
Right.
I think Jason Tatum is now just playing by himself as far as when it comes to stars. And we know they're not getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, Clarence. It's not happening when you got the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid, who's having an MVP caliber season. You got the Brooklyn Nets and they trio with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. You got the Milwaukee Bucks, who's still trying to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals and possibly get to the finals with Giannis on their squad. So once the Boston Celtics lost Jaylen Brown, my expectations for them dipped tremendously because I know they can't beat none of those top three seeds in the East. It was questionable whether or not they could beat any of those top three seeds in the East with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both healthy. Now that Brown is out for the season, it's not happening. But my player, who I believe has the most pressure and the most to prove in these play-in games, is none other than Mr. Triple-Double himself, Russell Westbrook, man. I got to roll Russell Westbrook, man. On the season, Russell Westbrook averaging 22 points per game, on 44% shooting from the floor, 12 rebounds per game, 11 assists per game. This brother has been playing on another level, and he has been in that MVP conversation, like as far as someone who's elevated his team to be where they're at. But my biggest issue with Russell Westbrook is, and this is why I feel like the most pressure is on him, they are 34-38 right now. Mm-hmm. There is no way in hell, or there's no reason why the Wizards with Bradley Beal, with Russell Westbrook should be 34-38. Y'all should be a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. You got one of the best backcourts in the NBA. This is Russell Westbrook, one of the greatest point guards in NBA history. This is Bradley Beal, a premier scorer in our league. Bradley Beal averaging, I believe, like 29 points per game this year. He was in competition with Steph to win the scoring title. So I believe because the Wizards have underachieved, because they should be higher than a 8th seed. They should be higher than 8th seed, Clarence. I don't give a damn what nobody says. So because they're an 8th seed and they underachieved, they got a losing record. If Russell Westbrook can't get the Wizards past the play-in round, it would be a major disappointment for Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal.
Well, he couldn't get it past when he played against when he was at OKC with Carmelo Anthony and Paul George. I just think, that Wizards team, they started off sloppy. Let's just get that out the way. They started out pretty bad and then the season. And then they have to, learn how to play with each other and build that chemistry. And I think that's what they did, and they're playing wonderful right now. Westbrook is leading this team, and he's doing a great job.
But the difference between when he was in Oklahoma City and now, when he was in Oklahoma City, they made the playoffs. I believe they were a top 5 seed each time they were in the postseason when he had Melo and Paul George. And I think even the year after Melo left, they still was a top 5 seed in the West. The problem now is you're in the Eastern Conference, and the Western Conference is more superior than the Eastern Conference. And if you got Bradley Beal as your running mate, one of the top shooting guards in the NBA, a premier elite scorer, I believe you should have a better record than 34-38. It is unacceptable, and I believe if they lose tomorrow night to Jason Tatum without Jaylen Brown, that would be a major disappointment and a blemish on Russell Westbrook's resume. He got to win tomorrow night. I don't give a damn about the triple doubles, Russ. I love you to death, but you got to get the.
I'm gonna just say this: his team was top 5 because they had top top 10 players at that position. And I'm just saying, I will take Bradley Beal I would take Paul George over Bradley Beal probably any day. I'm just
It's questionable for me because I've seen Paul George come up small in the playoffs. We'll talk about that on a different day.
What about Beal?
Beal really hasn't been in the postseason. The last few years before Russ got in Washington, the Wizards were the laughing stock of the NBA. They were awful.
He needed another player to lead him. Like John Wall led him, now Russell Westbrook is leading them. But let me ask you this. What's the keys to the game in this matchup between the Wizards and the Celtics?
All right, my keys to this matchup is going to be, will the Boston Celtics bench give them any production? I'm talking about Tremont Waters, Grant Williams, Jabari Parker, who they just recently signed, Romeo Langford. Can they get some production from their bench? Because even before Jaylen Brown's injury, I felt like all year long, the Boston Celtics were a top-heavy basketball team. Like after their starting five, the bench didn't give you any significant production. Like the bench was awful. Like
points a game.
Yeah, it was bad. Like the starting five, when you got Kemba, Tatum, Brown, Tristan Thompson, Daniel Tice was, in that lineup before he was traded. They produced. Marcus Smart too. Marcus Smart, not forget about him. They produced, but the problem was when they went to the bench, they didn't have no quality bench players on their team. And I blame some of this on Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge, the general manager for the Boston Celtics. I love Danny Ainge. He's very accomplished, but he's coming up. He came up short this year as far as developing his team. This team is not a team that's a championship contender. Even when he had Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, it was questionable. So I believe the bench is going to be key for them in this game. Can they get some production from some of those guys? Number two for me is going to be the health of Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal been dealing with a hamstring injury. So he's on this season, he's averaging 31 points per game on 49% shooting. If Bradley Beal isn't healthy, I believe that's a recipe for disaster for the Wizards. And I think the Celtics will have a chance at winning this game. So that's my second key. Is Bradley Beal healthy? My third key is going to be, who's going to be that consistent third scorer for the Washington Wizards? Is it going to be Thomas Bryant, who's averaging 14 points per game on 49% or 64% shooting?
I think he's hurt for the year. He's gone for the year.
He's gone?
Yeah, towards ACL early in his career, in his main season.
Okay. So is it going to be him? Is it going to be who's going to be that third consistent scorer?
I like Rory Hamachiral, the guy from Japan.
Okay. Who's going to be? It got to be somebody. Somebody got to step up.
Somebody
got to step up. That's my three keys.
See, I got 3 keys to the game, but I'm gonna give you like a top key for each team because it's all gonna matter. For the Celtics, is the keys to that game is Kemba Walker is gonna step up and clutch moments and in this game because they need him more than anything.
Yeah.
He's been quiet during the season. And he been behind Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but is he gonna show up? Is he gonna show up and give them baskets that they need? Because I can't rely on Marcus Smart giving me 20 points. Right. If I'm getting 20 points out of him, he's gonna have a bad shooting percentage. So I'm relying more on Jason Tatum and Kemba. Like carrying the scoring load, but also the guys on the bench and the other ones, can they support them on that scoring load? Like in a scoring load. And for the Wizards, you already said it. Bradley Beal, is he healthy for this matchup tomorrow? Right. Because this is gonna be an intriguing matchup. They have history with each other. They don't like each other. I remember the Wizards came in Boston with all black on because it was a business trip. That's how they was explaining it. Can Bradley Beal stay healthy? Because I believe if he's healthy, this game will be so much different for the Wizards, and it will be more easier for them. It wasn't Westbrook. He can't be jacking all these shots, Trey. Yeah. We know about Russ. When the pressure's on him, he jack up a lot of shots.
Yeah, and you're talking about the history that the Celtics and the Wizards have had in the playoffs. I remember back, I believe, 2015, 2016, I think they met in the playoffs and won 7 games. It was Isaiah Thomas for the Celtics.
Oh, yeah.
John Wall for the Wizards,
Jay Crowder.
Yeah, I remember back and those times. But let's get to the next question on this. Who do you trust more, Jason Tatum or Russell Westbrook, to win this game? Which player do you put your trust in more?
I probably put my trust more in Russell Westbrook only because he brings that tenacity, energy to the team. Like you said, that third scorer can be a valuable scorer in this playing game tomorrow. Like he can bring best out of players to score. Like David Bertans. It was his first time I ever seen him dunk the ball. I almost caught a body. Russell Westbrook helped him elevate his confidence. And if Westbrook can elevate these players' confidence, I think they're gonna be above water. So I think I can trust Russell more than Jason. Jason shot up a lot of shots. I'm not gonna disregard that. But they don't have Jaylen Brown to support him when he's in bad shooting slumps. And when he's in bad shooting slumps, they're either getting blown out or Kemba got to bring them back. But I trust Russell Wilson more because, he's a field general. He get players involved. And if Bradley Beal is healthy, they can be very dangerous.
See, I disagree with you. I trust Jason Tatum more to win this game, even more than Russell Westbrook. As great as Russell Westbrook is, and I respect the hell out of Russell Westbrook. Again, like we know he's won the MVP. He has a final appearance on his resume. He's a triple-double king. You know what I mean? Like Mr. Triple-Double himself has the most triple-doubles of all time. I love Russell Westbrook, but I also know that Russell Westbrook in pressure moments, in playoff games, Russell Westbrook is careless at times with the basketball. Like sometimes his greatest strength is his biggest weakness in playoff pressure moments. That's my biggest issue with him. Like I know how great he is, and I know he's a great all-around point guard, but when it comes down to pressure moments in games, he sometimes does too much. Yeah. And sometimes he needs to take a little bit off that motor, and that's the biggest issue that I have with him. I trust Jason Tatum because Jason Tatum on the season, he's averaging 26 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 4 assists, and he plays big in playoff games, Clarence. I remember in the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals when he was a baby going up against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jason Tatum averaged 18 points per game on 50% shooting from the floor in that Eastern Conference Finals that year. And I don't know if you remember, and I believe it was Game 5 that year in the Eastern Conference Finals. Jason Tatum dunked on LeBron.
Yeah, I remember that.
He dunked on LeBron and looked at him like, I ain't scared. I'm ready for this moment.
And then lost 2 straight games.
He lost 2 straight. He did, but he was a baby. It's LeBron James. There ain't no shame in losing to LeBron James. So I think Jason Tatum is one of those players that love the big time moments, and he steps up and makes plays for his team to win games. So I trust Jason Tatum, believe it or not, more so than I trust Russell Westbrook in his playing game.
So let me ask you this though. Move to the next question though. Will Brad Stevens continue his postseason struggles, or will Scott Brooks outcoach Brad Stevens?
I think Brad Stevens is going to coach well in this game. Like I think sometimes Brad Stevens gets a bad rap because I believe Brad Stevens is a coach in the NBA. That's a respected coach. You got to remember, so far as head coach of the Boston Celtics, Brad Stevens has a record of 318 to 246. He's won 56% of his games. He's been to the conference finals 3 times in the last 4 years.
3 out of 4 years.
3 out of the last 4 years, Brad Stevens has been to the Eastern Conference Finals. And you got to remember, he came into the NBA as a winning coach when he coached at Butler. At Butler, he won 77% of his games with a record of 166 and 49. So I think sometimes Brad Stevens gets a bad rap. And I think Brad Stevens is one of the most respected coaches we have in the NBA. I think this year the Boston Celtics have struggled because of their roster construction, not necessarily coaching. And I think like the Celtics as a team has to improve. And I think that's on Danny Ainge more so than Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens, will do well in this game and coach pretty good.
You're basically saying like the problem with Brad Stevens is he's lacking of building a team, a championship team.
I believe that the problem is on Danny Ainge.
So Danny Ainge, he's failed to build a team.
I think the roster construction of the Boston Celtics is an issue. I love Jason Tatum. I love Jaylen Brown as a dynamic duo and players that you can build your franchise around. But I think the problem is they haven't put the right pieces around them, to make them even better and make them get over that hump and finally get to the NBA Finals.
Because I see like they passed on Anthony Davis. They wanted Anthony Davis, but they failed to bring him in.
They talked about even getting Paul George at one point.
Yeah, at a point in time, they just missed on a lot of players though. Like Danny Ainge, I don't know what in his hell man we was thinking bringing in like Gordon Hayward. And no disrespect to them though, but I just think they didn't have the impact that he would want. Like, you know what I'm saying? He expected them to have that superstar tangible impact, but they couldn't give it to him. Like Gordon Hayward, he broke his leg first year. Second year, he was kind of iffy. But I'm gonna tell you this: I think Scott Brooks is in position to outcoach Stevens because the Celtics roster is not in good shape to play. And if Bradley Beal is healthy and he's ready to go, I think Brooks have a game plan to double team and trap Jason Tatum.
Right.
So I think that would be his key thing, like getting the ball out of Tatum's hand. So I think Scott Brooks will outcoach Stevens.
Which team has more pressure to win this game, the Celtics or the Wizards?
I think it's the Wizards though. Like you said, Russell Westbrook, he's a great leader, and this is his platform to show hey, we a playing team, and I'm leading this team to the playoffs. I think he's a great leader when when it comes to like winning percentages and like bringing the team together.
Yeah.
Because they started off horrible over the season. Everybody was clowning them. Oh, he get a triple double, they lose. He get a triple double, now they're winning. Right. So I think the most pressure in this one is the Wizards, though, because the Celtics, they got an excuse, like their season hasn't been going as planned, and Jaylen Brown just got hurt. So I just think that they just took a huge step back, Trey, a huge step back. So I think the Wizards got the most pressure.
I agree with you on that. I think the Wizards got the most pressure to win this game because, again, when you have a great 1-2 punch at the point guard and shooting guard positions like the Wizards have, and Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. When you have that, there's no reason why you should be 34-38.
I agree.
There's no reason why you should have a losing record. And I believe because Jaylen Brown got injured, again, I believe the Wizards are the better team right now. They're playing better. Had Jaylen Brown not got injured, and it was basically Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum versus Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, I probably would have picked the Celtics because I know how erratic and how all over the place Russell Westbrook can be in playoff games. But when it comes to pressure, I believe the Wizards have more pressure simply because Jaylen Brown is now out and nobody has expectations for the Boston Celtics to go far in these NBA playoffs. So I believe the Wizards have more pressure when you have a dynamic duo with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. We talk about dynamic duos at the point guard and shooting guard positions in the NBA. I'm thinking about Kyrie Irving, James Harden. I'm thinking about, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson when healthy. I'm thinking about those type of dynamic duos, at the point guard and shooting guard positions. Mm-hmm. Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook deserves to be top 5 in that conversation.
Top 5.
Top 5. Hell yeah. And there's no reason why it should be 34-38. Are you kidding? Who else? Point guard, shooting guard? Name me 5 better point guard, shooting guards.
You said point guard, shooting guard.
Yeah, like I'm talking about duos. Like Steph, Klay. Kyrie, Harden. Like who? Like, come on now. Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal is a top 5 point guard, shooting guard duo in the NBA. What y'all think, listeners? Everybody that's on Facebook right now, remember, go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_OH. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow us at WiseGuys_OH on Instagram. Who do y'all believe is a top 5 point guard, shooting guard duo in the NBA? I say Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal is a top 5 PGs, SG in the NBA. I believe that. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I think I gotta do my research on
that. But let's talk about, will the winner of tomorrow night's game, which team will be more competitive against the Brooklyn Nets? Because whoever wins this game, they have to play the Brooklyn Nets in the first round. So which team will make the series more competitive? Will it be the Wizards or the Celtics?
I'm taking the Wizards on this because they play at a fast pace and they like to score the ball in transition a lot. And Russell Westbrook, him and KD, they have history with each other. Hell, even KD and Harden, they all got history with each other, And I think it's gonna be not emotional, but some emotional is gonna be coming out because they're like Westbrook plays hard. He's competitive. So when he's playing against a top team, he's gonna go his hardest. He's gonna want to play every game, every hard. So for Bradley Beal, I think it's for him. He needs to, jump on the wagon, hey, we're competitive. We're gonna make this Nets team tough. We're gonna make it hard for them.
Yeah.
But I just think like out of them between the Wizards and Celtics, I got the Wizards that's more competitive. Like if the Celtics end up winning this game tomorrow and they play Brooklyn, it's a clean sweep, man.
I agree with you. We ain't got to spend too much time on this question.
It's a clean sweep.
I believe we talked about all year how the Brooklyn Nets have struggled defensively. And that's been one of the issues. As great as they are offensively with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, they have struggled at getting stops at times throughout this season. So I believe that if you're going up against Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, I believe Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook can score the basketball pretty much at will against that Nets team. Yeah. I just don't think they're going to have enough in the end to be able to win a series. And I will say this. The only thing I would say as well when it comes to the Washington Wizards and the Brooklyn Nets, Russell Westbrook can be erratic at times. And he can sometimes let the game get the best of him. And I know Russell Westbrook going up against former teammates like James Harden, like Kevin Durant, he's going to want to put on a show against those brothers. You know it. He's going to want to put on a show against James Harden and Kevin Durant. And I think that could be at the detriment to his team. Because sometimes he can do too much. And I think he might do a little bit too much against Kevin Durant and James Harden. Therefore, I believe the Wizards will probably lose in 5 games. In that series.
That's probably the best answer you said for right now. Who wins tonight? Who wins tomorrow night? Wizards or Celtics?
I'm rolling with watch the Wizards to win the game. I watched both with the Washington Wizards. I believe they're the better team currently playing right now. And I'm going to roll with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal to get the win over a lonely Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
A lonely Jason Tatum.
So you're just saying forget Kemba. Okay, I forget you.
Kemba just been inconsistent this year.
I'm
I'm
taking the Wizards in this one. I think Scott Brooks is going to find schemes to like double team Jason Tatum, make sure he get the ball out of his hand. He's going to make it very frustrating for that guy, man. I just think that, the Celtics, they're in a bad shape right now, Trey. I'm sorry for it, man.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Oh, man. Oh, well, so, first of all, before we go into this, though, I want to do this. Because I know I'm about to.
Okay.
I'm about to,
I'm going to need it.
Yeah. So, Adam Schefter reports that Aaron Rodgers has informed that the Packers doesn't want to return to the team. Matt LaFleur said, we want him back in the worst way. And the way how you acting, you need him back in every single way, Trey. And, I seen the Packers sign 2 quarterbacks in the last 2 weeks. Blake Bortles signed to a 1-year contract last Thursday. And they signed Ben Kurt for a rookie minicamp tryout.
Yeah.
So, Trey, are you becoming nervous that Aaron Rodgers has played his last game as a Green Bay Packer?
I'll put that right there for you. Yeah, I'm gonna need it. I need it.
It's okay.
Clarence, to be honest with you, I'm beyond nervous. Okay, I'm becoming more scared each day that goes by, and I'm not hearing the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers agree on a long-term deal that will, solidify Aaron Rodgers retiring as a Green Bay Packer. And right now, Clarence, my emotions is probably I'm more angry than sad. But I began sad about the whole situation. Like, and you gotta bear with me. You gotta bear with me as I talk about it.
Look, I felt some pressure.
You gotta bear with me talking about my Packers, man, because
It's okay.
when the news first broke about how Aaron doesn't want to return to Green Bay anymore, and it broke, on draft night.
It's okay.
On draft night, it broke, and that's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that the news dropped about Aaron Rodgers no longer wanting to return to Green Bay on draft night. Okay, I was completely thrown off, and it seemed like a very calculated move by Aaron Rodgers. Would you agree? Like, Aaron knew what he was doing. A year ago, they drafted Jordan Love, and they didn't inform Aaron Rodgers they were going to draft Jordan Love. So I feel like Aaron Rodgers purposely told his camp, put up that news about me wanting to be out on draft day. That was a calculated move by Aaron Rodgers. He ain't fooling me. It was calculated. And then after that, you heard, about reports that Matt LaFleur, then general manager for the Packers, Brian Gutekunst, and president Mark Murphy, how they flew out to the West Coast and they tried to convince Aaron to come back. And Aaron refused. He refused. and he refused to give them any type of commitment. And at this point, he seems very dug in. And as time went along, Clarence, it transitioned from, sadness to anger. Okay? I am angry about what the hell is going on with my star quarterback and the Green Bay Packers. Like, it is insane the way the Green Bay Packers are treating Aaron Rodgers, Clarence. It's beyond ridiculous at this point because it shouldn't even have got this far for Aaron Rodgers. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that person in that relationship. Like, we know people that's married, that's in relationships, that it's that person that likes been mistreated the entire relationship. They've been upset the entire relationship with their partner. And then their partner finally get it. Like, man, I can't lose out on my significant other. But the person who's been getting mistreated the entire time is already dug in. They already dug in. They already like, no matter what you say, it's over. I'm done. That's what it seems like is happening right now with Aaron Rodgers and my Packers. He seems dug in. No matter what you do, no matter how much money you give me, I ain't coming back, bro. I ain't coming back. So hold on, Clint. I'm almost done. I got you, man, because I'm emotional about this. And I'm again, my sadness has turned to anger. That's where it's at right now. We're talking about the greats. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers on his career, 412 touchdown passes, just 89 interceptions, completing 65% of his passes, 3-time NFL MVP. He got a career record 126. 63 and 1. He's won 66% of his games. And you could even give him the respect to inform him that you're going to draft Jordan Love. It's about communication. That's what it's about. It ain't even about necessarily the roster. I don't think it has nothing to do with the roster. I think my Packers are right on the cusp of getting to the Super Bowl and possibly winning it. I think it's more about the communication to Aaron Rodgers. That's his biggest issue right now with general manager Brian Gutekunst. if you're going to draft Aaron Rodgers' replacement, at least inform Aaron Rodgers and tell him, hey, we're going to draft Jordan here. He's going to learn behind you. Okay? We're not going to put Jordan in. He's not going to be in as a starting quarterback for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay? He's going to learn behind you. They didn't even give Aaron Rodgers the respect clearance to inform him that they're going to draft his replacement. It was disrespectful.
Asher said 1 Super Bowl, though. Only 1 Super Bowl, though.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
He commented on it.
I ain't with that ass. So yeah, it's anger now, Clarence. One more thing I'm gonna say. One more thing.
I got you.
Everybody out there has seen Bad Boys 2, right?
Yeah.
And you remember in Bad Boys 2 when they were, they were police officers, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, Will Smith had asked Martin Lawrence, he said, we always say we're gonna be all right, we're gonna get through this, we're gonna make it through it. I don't know if we're gonna make it through it this time. Like, I could say it, but it's gonna be a bunch of bullshit. Right now, I've told myself plenty of times, like throughout the years, people told me, Aaron gonna lead the Packers, Aaron gonna lead the Packers, Aaron gonna lead the Packers. And I was always saying, like, nah, we always gonna work it out. It's always gonna work out for us. Right now, that'd be a bunch of bullshit. If I tell you right now, Aaron gonna retire the Packers, that's BS. That's BS. Let's just be realistic.
Yeah.
I'm emotional.
It's like an emotional roller coaster right now because, like, we most seen it coming, but you didn't see it coming, but because like the Green Bay Packers organization, I feel like they don't value their players like as much as they should.
Yeah.
And like Chris Carter, he's trying to come on because he's an Aaron Rodgers fan too. He don't like the way you're going off. But the point is, like, I just think for the Packers though, they haven't done right by Aaron Rodgers. Like, for me watching football all my life, great organizations build around great players, great quarterbacks. Like, but the thing is, they didn't give them enough pieces. They haven't drafted a receiver since probably like 2006.
Yeah,
That's
it's the same.
It's a long time. I just feel like when you got a premier elite quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, you supposed to give him every single weapon he asked for, because he did everything you asked him to do.
Yeah.
So I just feel like the Packers is not, they're not playing their cards right, but they see, like, I see how the way it's going. You know how they did with Brett Favre? They kind of pushed him out the door and give it to Aaron. But I don't know if they're so sure on Jordan Love.
Right, but the difference between the Brett Favre situation and the Aaron Rodgers situation is, at the time, Brett Favre was unsure whether or not he wanted to continue playing. Aaron has said he wants to continue playing, and he's playing at a high level. Aaron Rodgers this year had 48 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions, threw for over 4,000 passing yards. Okay, because now here's what happened. The Packers organization, what they did was, after the NFC Championship loss to the Niners, they thought Aaron was cooked. They thought Aaron was done. So Aaron said, let me go out here and have an MVP caliber season and remind you who the hell I am. And Aaron has all the leverage now. You know what else gives Aaron the leverage? What? The fact that I don't believe the Packers believe that Jordan Love is ready. So that gives Aaron Rodgers even more leverage. Because if Jordan Love was ready, then the Packers would just say, all right, Aaron, well, we'll just trade you away. We'll trade you away, or you can just go home and sit, and we're not going to trade you. Like, those are two different things that can happen. But because the Packers organization knows that Jordan Love isn't ready, Aaron has even more leverage. But we forget about how great Aaron is. Like, Aaron has carried this Packers franchise. He has carried the Packers franchise. Have y'all forgotten in 2014, Aaron got the Green Bay Packers to the NFC Championship game against the Seattle Seahawks and the Legion of Boom? Have y'all forgotten about that? Have y'all forgotten in 2016, the year when we went 4-6, and Aaron said, we're going to run the table? What happened? We ran the table, won 8 straight games. We was 4-6, remember? Won 6 straight games, got to the playoffs, then in the playoffs won 2 straight games, and got to the NFC Championship against MVP Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons. We ain't have no business being in no NFC Championship game. Did we? Remember that year? We ain't had no business being in the NFC Championship game, and we got there because of Aaron Rodgers. Y'all better put some respect on Aaron Rodgers' name.
I think the Green Bay Packers need to put more respect on Aaron Rodgers' name, though. But, I got to ask you this question, man. So if the Green Bay Packers decide to trade...
Don't ask me that. Don't answer that. You can answer that.
I'm being
Dre, turn on that ear. Turn the air on. It's hot.
No. He got to understand it. He has to understand. If the Green Bay Packers had to trade Aaron Rodgers, who is the best fit for him? Let's take a deep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right there.
I
You're mostly scarred.
Man, I just can't even imagine Aaron Rodgers not retiring the Green Bay Packers. I can't even imagine him playing in no other uniform with that green and
Okay,
gold.
let me ask you. Let me make the question more smooth.
Can you help me out? How
Do
about
you
you answer it first?
I think the best fit for him, though, first of all, don't send him to no NFC team because
No.
you're going to ruin your own plans if you send him in the same conference and that team get even better and better. I think the best fit for him is, everybody been saying it. It's the Denver Broncos because they got young weapons that's ready to compete, and they're lacking quarterback play up there in Denver. And I think they got a good defense, a hold that can stop. They can make good stops. Plus, you're gonna be playing Patrick Mahomes twice, and you're gonna be playing Justin Herbert twice, and you're gonna be playing the Las Vegas Raiders twice. So that's a good, fun division to watch. And I think the Broncos will give him more, security. You know what I'm saying? Yes, Aaron Rodgers, in his career, he had good O-line, bad O-line, decent O-line. But the Broncos, they a metal-packed offensive line with literally underrated weapons. And they need once they get that elite quarterback, you'll see a whole different result from them. I think the Denver Broncos is the best fit for Aaron Rodgers. But I know his value is very high. At least 2 first-round picks.
It is, but Clarence, I'm just be honest with you.
The Bengals need a backup.
I'm going to let stop. You stop. Don't you say nothing like
I'm
that.
just saying.
Don't you dare say nothing like that.
We need an elite backup.
Joe Burrow couldn't shine Aaron Rodgers' shoes on his best day. Joe Burrow couldn't shine Aaron Rodgers' shoes on his best day. But listen, I'm not going to answer the question about who's the best trade scenario, who could give up the best pieces for the Packers in the trade for Aaron Rodgers. Because you know why, Clarence? I'm not ready to accept the fact that it's a possibility that Aaron Rodgers is going to play for another team. Okay, so I'm not ready to answer this question. We can move on. We can talk about the NBA next because I'm not ready to answer which team I believe is the best fit.
Aaron Rodgers be a Green Bay quarterback week 1 in the Superdome against the Saints.
Yes, I'm going on record. I feel like the Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers era will continue. It will continue as bad as it is right now, Clarence, okay? I believe that the Packers and Aaron Rodgers need some time apart. They haven't. They've been flying out to the West Coast to try to convince him to come back. So they give Aaron some space. Give him some space. And one more thing I want to say. I think also the worst part about this thing is Aaron has other things going on outside of football. That's the scary part for me. He could just retire. He really could. He could be because right now he's trying to be the host of Jeopardy. He's a candidate to be he's a candidate right now to become the permanent host of Jeopardy. So Aaron got other things going on. And he could just retire and say, all right, you guys are going to trade me. I'm going home and I'm going to sit. I have plenty of money. I got plenty of money. I have nothing to lose here. I got money. I got status. I got fame. I'm one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. So that's the thing that makes me scared too.
I just think that, this is going to be a big one. When training camp comes, that's when you really go break down, is Aaron really there? But we definitely got to move on, though. We definitely got to move on back to the NBA storyline. So, Trey, I wanted to ask you this, though, because I've seen this all over social media, and I've been looking on Instagram as well, they have a graphic of who's the biggest surprise. Who do you think is the biggest surprise and disappointment in the Western Conference? Let's start in the Western Conference.
My biggest surprise in the Western Conference, I'm going to roll with the Phoenix Suns with a record of 51-21. Chris Paul has really helped this team, and he has elevated this team to being a top 2 seed in the Western Conference. Monty Williams, head coach of the Phoenix Suns, has done a great job, putting the players in positions to be successful. We saw this last year, Clarence, in the bubble when they went undefeated. You remember they went undefeated and they had a shot at the playoffs, but I think the Blazers and the Grizzlies ended up winning, a few more games. But I believe the Blazers and the Grizzlies were already farther ahead than the Phoenix Suns. But the Phoenix Suns went undefeated last year in the bubble. But I think the Phoenix Suns is my biggest surprise in the West. My biggest disappointment in the Western Conference is the New Orleans Pelicans. This year, they 31-41. And this team...
James, you better be listening to this.
Yeah, they're my biggest disappointment in the Western Conference. The Pelicans, they have been awful defensively. And that's being nice. They've been completely awful defensively. I had high expectations for the New Orleans Pelicans, given the fact that they got a nice duo that's young, and Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. And I thought they could at least compete for a top 8 seed. I thought they would at least be a 6, 7, or 8 seed in the Western Conference. The Western Conference is a gauntlet. Okay, it's multiple teams that's championship contenders, in the West. So seriously. And I thought they could at least be like a 7 or 8 seed. Didn't happen this year, Clarence. So they're my biggest disappointments this year. So my biggest surprise is the Phoenix Suns. My biggest disappointment is the New Orleans Pelicans.
All right. I like that. I think my biggest surprise in the Western Conference Finals is the Phoenix Suns. I love the way how Chris Paul transitioned from the Thunder and came to a Suns team that haven't made the playoffs in almost a decade.
Yeah.
And almost. And I think he transformed this team into a future team that can make the playoffs consecutive years. And he helped Devin Booker elevate to that all-star level. So I think the Suns, they did a good role. They had a good run. And they, Chris Paul, he was a great leader.
Yeah.
He finally unleashed that Devin Booker that we wanted to see for a long time. I think they're my biggest surprise. My disappointment in the Western Conference Finals, I think my biggest disappointment in the Western Conference Finals is, it is like the New Orleans Pelicans. We got the same answers. So let me tell you why. Because I love Zion. I'm a huge fan of Zion. Yeah, huge fan of Zion. And I think if they could at least make the top 6, you can at least crack the play in. Because they got a lot of talent. Lonzo Ball broke out. He shot over 200 threes. Zion averaging 25, shooting over 25%. Brandon Ingram still is a legit scorer. So they have a lot of pieces over there that they could have won with. I think the problem was the coaching. They wasn't playing to their nearest strength. They wasn't playing up to their strength that slowed like their chemistry down.
Yeah. And
they had players like Eric Bledsoe taking like sometimes the most shots. Like, why in hell Eric Bledsoe is taking all those shots though, Trey, man?
Yeah.
Anybody like Bledsoe is solid, but he's solid, but I don't want Bledsoe jacking up all the shots, taking away from like my other superstars. I think the Pelicans, like, this gonna be a spark for them next season, like to make the playoffs. Like you ain't been to the playoffs, like Zion and Zion era, this your second year missing the playoff. Third year, this better like lit a fire up your ass.
Yeah, for sure. So let's start off and go to the transition to the Eastern Conference. Who is your biggest surprise in the Eastern Conference? I'll give you mine after you give me yours. What's your biggest
my biggest one is not the Boston Celtics, but the Philadelphia 76ers. I love the way how Doc Rivers transitioned over from the Clippers, and he helped transform Joel Embiid to an MVP caliber player. Although he had like a hyperextended knee, but he helped Joel reach that limit. And you believe it or not, like their whole starting 5 is top 10 defenders at their own positions.
Yeah.
And I think Doc, he always stretch out defense. And the relationship that him and Ben Simmons have, they like, it gets super closer because they're like, they're unorthodox. They do stuff very differently, but they get to like be compatible together. I think that's my biggest surprise in the Eastern Conference. My disappointment is the Boston Celtics. They started off sloppy. They was getting beaten by low under 500 teams. Jaylen Brown got hurt. I think this was a big disaster year for them, Drake.
Yeah.
I think they wasn't on their P's and Q's. I just think that, like Danny Ainge, he's failed Brad Stevens again by not giving him good players to build around and win long term.
Right.
So I think they need to go back to the drawing board to, fix that problem.
Okay. My biggest surprise in the Eastern Conference this season is those New York Knicks at 41-31. I believe the New York Knicks is the biggest surprise, not only in the Eastern Conference, they're the biggest surprise in the NBA.
Yeah, they shocked the world.
Yeah, they shocked the world. The New York Knicks have been playing at a high level, and this is the first time they have been in the playoffs since the 2012-2013 NBA season.
And guess who was over there?
Guess who was there? My man, Carmelo Anthony, leading the charge. But the New York Knicks are playing great basketball, being led by Julius Randle, averaging 24 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 6 assists. I believe Julius Randle should get serious consideration for NBA's most improved player. I think he's an MVP candidate as well, dark horse, but I don't think he's going to win the NBA MVP. But I do believe he could possibly win NBA most improved player, Clarence, because
I agree.
Julius Randle's been playing at a high level. I watched the game last week when they went up against the Lakers, and you could see Julius Randle competing with AD. Like, he went right at Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Like, he is not scared of anyone. Like, I respect Julius Randle because he's one of those players who you could tell been working on improving his game.
Yeah.
You remember the Lakers let Julius Randle go for nothing. Like, they didn't trade him, they just let him go. Like, they let him go. Like, so I love how Julius Randle's playing this year. And I also love the fact that they have Tom Thibodeau as a head coach leading this team. Yes, and I think Tom Thibodeau should win NBA Coach of the Year. He'll get my vote because I believe his defensive, mindset has led to this team. They're one of the top defensive teams in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And him bringing in players like Derrick Rose, like Taj Gibson, players who know his system, I believe that has led to the success of the New York Knicks. So I got to give the New York Knicks the title as being the biggest surprise in the NBA this season. And I think they're going to be a team in the first round that could possibly win their first round series. They're going to go up against the Atlanta Hawks. I think it could go. I think it could go 7 games. Sweet. It's going to be the opposite of a sweep. I think that series could go the distance. I really do. But my biggest disappointment, you took my answer, is the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics being at 500, they're 36-36. I had big expectations for the Boston Celtics because they've been in the conference finals 3 out of the last 4 years. And I thought the next step for them would be getting over that hump and making it to the NBA Finals. Because I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are a great dynamic duo. And I think they're 2 of the best young players we have in the NBA. And I feel like this year, Clarence, they just took a step back. And I think it's more about roster construction. And I'm going to say something that I disagree with you about because you mentioned this earlier. I believe losing Gordon Hayward really hurt the Boston Celtics more than they anticipated. I think Gordon Hayward was the player that kept them together, being that veteran presence in the locker room. When you got players like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown who are young and wet behind the ears, they need a player like a Gordon Hayward who's been battle tested. Okay, he's been in the playoffs and led the Utah Jazz to a postseason berth. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think they really missed Gordon Hayward being on that team, and I think Danny Ainge underestimated the value of Gordon Hayward. So I think losing Gordon Hayward really hurt the Boston Celtics. And they're my biggest disappointment in the East.
But to counter that, I think that Terry Rozier was missed the most out of Gordon Hayward because I think he gave him that spark off the bench. Whenever they need him to start, he came to answer. And that was a big loss. No, not a big loss, though, but it was kind of like a question because you expect, Kemba Walker to be that guy in the locker room to cheer on his players and stuff. But unfortunately, it hasn't been the way how they wanted it. And now they're suffering. Yeah. And then they're playing against the Wizards tomorrow.
Now, let's transition to NBA head coaches. Which head coach has the most to prove in the playoffs?
Which head coach has the most to prove in the playoffs? If you have to ask me, I think the pressure is on the first year man, Steve Nash. You know what I'm saying? Like he was hired off rip to be the Brooklyn Nets head coach. He was linked in with the Warriors, KD. They had a special relationship in Golden State. I think like you a first year head coach, you want to set the tone because you don't want to just be in Brooklyn for a brief time. You want to establish something for the future. I think the pressure will be more on him because playoff ball and season ball is very different. Yeah. So and Steve Nash been in playoff and majority of all the situations in the playoffs. So I think if he can prove that he can keep his team together and lead them into the NBA Finals, hell, even win a title, that would be big for them. That would be big for him. This actually be his first title as a coach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the head coach that has the most to prove in the NBA playoffs is my very own head coach for the Portland Trail Blazers, Terry Stotts. I think Terry Stotts has a lot to prove in this year's NBA playoffs, Clarence, because I know Terry Stotts has a career record of 475 and 456 as head coach, so he's won 51% of his games. But he's had the luxury of coaching a superstar like Damian Lillard and also a good player, not great, because I think he's good, in CJ McCollum. So that's a dynamic duo as well at the point guard, shooting guard spots in the NBA. And in 7 years, as being the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, they've only had 1 conference finals appearance. Comparing that to Brad Stevens. Remember Brad Stevens? We were talking about him earlier. Brad Stevens has had the Boston Celtics in the conference finals, I think 3 years. Yeah, three times. 3 out of the last 4 years, he's had them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Terry Stotts has only had the Blazers in the Western Conference Finals only once. So his record, again, is almost just about at 500, above 500 just a little bit. But I think Terry Stotts has a lot to prove because he's just one of those coaches that I think he knows basketball. He knows the game. But I just think sometimes you need one of those coaches that can relate to Dame on a whole nother level. You know what I mean? I think sometimes he comes across as just being, he all right. He all right. It ain't nothing special about him.
Yeah, I just think like Terry Stott, like I feel like if he at least get out the first round or at least make it to a second round, he's possibly be gone because they seem they're about to be moving in a new direction pretty soon. So I think he need to prove himself like he still can be a head coach in this NBA. I definitely guarantee agree with you about that, my brother.
Yes, sir. Now let's transition to some NFL. And let's talk about Tim Tebow and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're expected to sign former quarterback Tim Tebow to play tight end. This move will reunite Tim Tebow with collegiate head coach Urban Meyer. So, question for you, Clarence. Is this a good idea or bad idea to sign Tim Tebow to the Jacksonville Jaguars?
See, this guy got me in the loop right here. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Urban brought in Tebow just for familiar faces and like a business, like for the business aspect of it. And he brings a good leadership in the locker room that you will love about him. And the thing about Tebow is like he worked very hard to start in this NFL. He beat out players except for Mark Sanchez. He couldn't beat Mark Sanchez in New York. But other than that, he was kind of proving himself. He beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoff game. You know, he was kind of getting his name out there, but he wasn't consistent enough. So I think this was like a good idea that you bring in like a familiar face that with Urban Meyer though, Trey. I think so because it helps bring the locker room together and it helps push out the expectation what Urban Meyer will want. And because Tebow already know the expectation what Urban Meyer has in play. I just think he need more help pushing out the expectation for what he wants from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Tebow's gonna be big for Trevor Lawrence though.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. Do you believe that Tim Tebow can play tight end in the NFL? Yes or no? I want to know the answer. Yes or no?
I think that's I want to say no, but I
want to hear it. Yes or no? Can Tim Tebow play tight end in the NFL?
Well, I think he's athletic. I think he can play tight end. I think he play tight end. He's one of those guys that you gonna have line him up H back, tight end too. You know, someone you could just trick around with. Hell, do a Philly special. I'm just saying this. He wasn't coming in to be a quarterback. So he had to transition to another position that he feel comfortable playing. And tight end, he's feel comfortable playing. He has a good size. He's good size for it. And I think I don't think you make a huge impact, but I think he'll make a huge impact in the locker room. And hell, he might play. I think he might score like 3 touchdowns in the season.
Stop it.
Hey, I'm betting on it.
Stop. Can y'all hear what I have to deal with?
We're going to Indy to place these bets that Tebow scores more than 3 touchdowns this year.
You should be banned from talking football.
No, seriously. No, seriously.
You really just said it's a good idea to bring on Tim Tebow. So if it's a good idea to bring on Tim Tebow, why the hell Tim Tebow been out of the league all these years?
Well, he was playing baseball and he was a host.
Because he couldn't play quarterback in the NFL.
That's why he transitioned to tight end.
But that's the thing, though. He didn't want to transition to tight end when he still was in the league. He was too stubborn. He was too stuck in his ways. He was so hell-bent on being a quarterback, he couldn't realize, like, hey, I can't play quarterback. I'm not very good. Let me transition to tight end to be able to stay in the league. He didn't want to do it then, so why do it now? He's 34 years of age. I can see if Tim Tebow was 26, 28. He's 34, okay? He is over the hill, okay? My biggest issue with this is, why are you doing this in the first place? If we know Tim Tebow can't play tight end in the NFL, you don't deserve a roster spot. You just don't. There are other players that have played this game of football and other players like that are out there that are unrestricted free agents or players that want to have a dream to just play in the league. I believe Tim Tebow is taking away an opportunity from those players, okay? Like there are other players who basically I feel like didn't get the 3rd and 4th chances that Tim Tebow has gotten in his career. We all know he can't play tight end, so why are you bringing this distraction in the building? You got a first-year starter and a rookie quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence don't need these unnecessary distractions in the locker room. Trevor Lawrence needs to focus on learning his progressions and learn how to play quarterback in the National Football League. And I believe Urban Meyer is making a mistake bringing Tim Tebow in as a voice in the locker room, or because you can't tell me that you're bringing him in to be the best tight end on your roster. That's impossible. So what else other idea are you going to sell me on? If you're going to sell me on the idea he's a voice in the locker room, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. Like, I'm just not. And I believe Urban Meyer has lost some credibility with this decision. What? All right. Yes, I believe he lost some credibility because players in that locker room are going to say it ain't about your performance. It ain't about how good of a player you are. It's about who you know and who knows you. Clearly, that's what it's about. Like, that's what it's about because this last thing I'm going to say, and I'll let you go. Clearly, Urban Meyer doesn't understand this ain't college. In college, it's more of a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship at the head coaching position in college. We see it with Nick Saban. You know, we've seen it with Urban Meyer at Ohio State, at Florida. In the NFL, it's a partnership. You have to partner with your players. You have to partner with your coaches. You have to partner with the general manager, with the owner. It's not just about you. And I think this decision to bring Tim Tebow on this team was a selfish decision by Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow. Yes, this was selfish.
Let me tell you this. I don't think it was necessarily selfish that he brought in Tim Tebow. I just believe that he had familiar faces with a player like Tebow, and bringing Tebow in, to help with the locker room and leadership, business aspect. I don't think this is probably much of a bad idea. Like, you need someone that has familiar faces in the state of Florida. And Tebow is very famous in the state of Florida. He played at the University of Florida, and he brought them 2 national titles, also some Heisman trophies. So I think this was like a great business plan to bring in someone that you can get tickets for the game, and that you can attract more other players to come play with you, because him, Urban Meyer, and the offensive coordinator, all of them are training or mentoring Trevor Lawrence. And I think Tim Tebow will be a good mentor for Trevor Lawrence, because although he can't teach him to play quarterback. He probably can't teach him that. He probably can't teach him to play quarterback, but he can teach him a few things that he learned in the NFL, so he can carry on in life. We're gonna see Jacksonville in a few more years coming up, rising to the top. I hear where you're coming from. I just disagree. I don't think this was a smart decision by Urban Meyer. You were just pissed that they just brought it.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. He's 34 years of age. He is over the hill. It is over. Tim Tebow has to accept the fact that it's over, Tim. It's done. Let it go, Tim. Let it go. Let it go, bro. Let it go.
He's going to be a great leader for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Something that they very needed for quite a while.
Man, I disagree with you. But let's transition real quick to some NBA before we get up out of here. And Saturday, Vanessa Bryant, she accepted Kobe Bryant's admission to the Basketball Hall of Fame. And Kobe was enshrined as a member of the 2020 class on Saturday. And, RIP to Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant and all the other members that was on the plane in that plane crash. But this was something that took place Saturday, Clarence. MJ walked up Vanessa to the podium to talk about, Kobe. So what was your reaction to Vanessa's speech, on the late, great Kobe Bryant?
I won't be too long on this, but I'm going to say this, though. It was a beautiful speech that she spoke about. And you can tell she meant it from the heart when she was speaking on it, because it was very emotional, honestly. And, it kind of made me sad, you know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't here to get inducted, and it just he put in so much work into the NBA, and he wasn't here to do it. But for her to come out, be strong to, say that speech, it really means a lot. Kobe was really a great player. He was a great player. He was one of the hardest workers in the room. He wanted everybody to be better. It was a comment that him and Vanessa was going back, because she wanted him to rest. But he said, people saved up their money to come watch me play. Yeah. I want to deliver for them. Yeah. I don't want to just be like, nah, man, I'm not playing just because I'm tired. Nah, I'm coming because I'm playing because these guys saved their money up to come watch me play. So he was more dedicated a lot in basketball, and that that speaks a lot, and it left a mark on the NBA.
Yeah, and I want to say, as I was watching Vanessa speak on Saturday night talking about Kobe, watching it really gave me chills, and it made me think about how women in different ways, we all have our strengths, right? Everybody got different strengths. Everybody got different weaknesses. She did something, Clarence, I don't think I would have ever been able to do. I'm gonna just be honest. And she ain't the first woman to do this. I think women are stronger in some aspects than us men are. And tragedy is one of them, because I also saw Lauren London speak about the late great Nipsey Hussle at his funeral, and she kept it together. Like Vanessa did, speaking about Kobe, she kept herself together. Like I wouldn't have been able to get up there and talk about my wife after she had tragically passed away. Like I wouldn't be able to do it. I just can't. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be able to do it. Like it would have been too much for me. I would have been like frustrated all over the place, emotional. Like I believe the fact that Vanessa was able to get up there and speak, so fluently and talk about how great Kobe was, on the court and how great of a person he was, even off the court. I believe that, it speaks to, how strong she is, because she isn't over it. Like she isn't over this situation by any means. Like you never get over a situation like this ever. And the fact that she was able to talk in front of all these people and able to talk about her husband, man, this really speaks to how strong, she is as a woman. And I ain't got nothing but respect for Vanessa Bryant, man. Like it really, really showed me, how strong she is as a woman, man.
Yeah, she's a very strong woman. She's been around with Kobe for a long time. So it's like she knew what type of man he really was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and she did. And like she talked about how, like basically, you said it, like about how Kobe pretty much always said, like, I gotta play. Like I gotta play. She asked him, she said that she always used to ask him, like, won't you ever just take some games off? Or won't you just sit a game out here? And Kobe told her, like, hey, I want to be able to perform for that family that's not as fortunate as I am to be able to watch me play, because it might only be one time where they get a chance to see me play. So you're right about that. But just listen to her talk about, the late great Kobe Bryant, and listen to her, talk about Gianna as well, because she lost a daughter in this as well. Yeah. We always talk about, people that have kids. People that have kids always say, like, you're not supposed to bury your child. Your child's supposed to bury you. You know what I mean? That's the way it's supposed to be. So her having to, bury Kobe and bury Gianna is just a double whammy. Like she ain't just lose Kobe. She lost a daughter in this plane crash. Like it's just bad all the way around with that situation. But again, I will say, like, listening to her speech and talk about how great Kobe was, it really, really, filled us in on some things about Kobe that we didn't even know. Yeah. Because she knew Kobe more than any of us.
Right. It just my bad, Trey. It just had me so emotional.
It is. It's tough, man. Because to this day, I have trouble, like, wrapping my mind around the fact that Kobe really is gone.
Yeah,
like Kobe was like immortal to me. Like Kobe was like someone who couldn't die. Like, you know what I mean? Like I still have trouble wrapping my mind around it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm holding back tears and stuff. You got me on.
Yeah, my bad, brother. Yeah. My bad, man. Nah, I know. But I want to ask you a question, because it wasn't just Kobe that was inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. We also had Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. So how do you feel about the Basketball Hall of Fame inductees as a trio, Kobe, KG, and Tim Duncan?
Well, they was the lead big dogs of the next era. You know what I'm saying? The last era before this era. They left a mark on this too. Tim Duncan is probably one of the greatest power forwards of all time. KG is like right behind him, like one of the greatest power forwards of all time. So I think this was made for them. You know what I'm saying? It was time that like the NBA Hall of Fame finally put them on notice. Like these are guys that, like they helped out with the NBA. They helped won championship games, MVP. They did a lot for their teams.
Yeah.
Like they basically sacrificed themselves for the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm glad like these three guys, even Chris Webber, because he made the list too. I'm so happy that they made the Hall of Fame, and they gonna be remembered as legends and greats forever.
Yeah. I believe this was the best Hall of Fame class of all time. I believe that, because when you talk, all time, because when you talk about Kobe, KG, and Tim Duncan, we're talking about 11 championships, 48 All-Star game appearances. I mean, these are three of the greatest players in NBA history. When it comes to Kobe and Tim Duncan, those two players both are, top 20. Like, I don't get whatever list you make of NBA all-time greats, your top 20 players will include Kobe Bean Bryant and Tim Duncan. And then KG is top 25. KG right there, he top 25 of all time. Yes, I think Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward of all time, but I think Kevin Garnett is one of the greatest defensive power forwards of all time. He brought it night in and night out on the defensive, side of the ball. And we all know the greatness in Kobe Bryant. He was box office. Like, you know what I mean? Like Kobe was box office. Kobe always showed up and gave you 110%, effort. And one thing I like about these three players they all got a chance to face off against one another.
Yeah.
That they brought the best out in each other. And I believe that it was Tim Duncan who said it. He said, competing against Kobe, competing against Kevin Garnett brought the best out in myself.
Yeah.
You know, because he knew he had to, rise his game to another level. You know what I mean? He had to elevate his game to another level to be able to beat Kobe and KG. So, just thinking about these three Hall of Fame players, KG, Kobe, and Tim Duncan, man, like I think this is the best Hall of Fame class of all time.
Yeah, that's a strong take right there.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Real quick before we get out, let's transition and talk about the Eastern Conference play-in game. We talked about the Wizards and Celtics earlier. Let's talk about the Pacers and Hornets. Give me your keys to this matchup and which team you think will win this game.
Okay, my keys to this matchup is like, can LaMelo Ball shine as a rookie again? He's been explosive this year, and like, can he help contribute to this team? Him, Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, are those guys they are key components on this team? Can they lead the pack with this small, young Hornets team? And for the Pacers, someone like Karis LeVert and some Sabonis, one of those guys have to step up, on a defensive side, because ever since they've been losing Turner, their defensive stats has been dropping significant.
Yeah.
So they need to, show up on the defensive side, because they're playing against a fast-paced Charlotte Hornets team that will move the ball, that pass the ball like 300 times a game. That's like the second highest in NBA of this season that they be passing the ball around. So if they're active on defense and they're making the Hornets force shots, I truly believe the Pacers can win this with flying circles.
Yeah, it's going to be a competitive game. I'm looking forward to seeing how LaMelo Ball, like you said, plays in this matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing, a veteran player like a Gordon Hayward, how he plays in this matchup.
Yeah.
If he plays, Terry Rozier, he can contribute as well, and give you 15 or 20 points on a good night.
On a good one.
For sure. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Hornets do with their, those three premier players, and Ball and Rozier and Hayward. When it comes to the Pacers have been dealing with a lot of injuries this year. TJ Warren, I believe, is out for the season, and he was a player that was really on the come up.
Bubble star.
Yeah, he was on the come up last year in the bubble, but Sabonis been in and out of the lineup this year. LeVert, been in and out of the lineup this year with injuries. But I believe Sabonis and LeVert are set to go in this game, and I think Karis LeVert is one of those players who has superstar potential, man. Like I've seen him play, and I like his game a lot. I really like his game.
Yeah, he's very smooth, and he learned a lot from Kyrie. Letting the game come to him, and he's done a fantastic job, like controlling the pace. I think he's going to be a special player in the future.
Yeah, and in this matchup, the Indiana Pacers, they trying to snap a 9-game losing streak in the playoffs, and they haven't reached the second round since 2014. It's been 2014 since they made it to the second round. They're one of those teams that always get in the playoffs, but they never really make any noise. Like, they haven't really made any noise since Roy Hibbert, David West, Paul George on that team.
Yeah, I know exactly the team you're talking about. I just think this Pacers team, they're lacking like superstar. They're like Sabonis. He's a good one, but do you really trust him to with Julius Randle be putting up points? Like, can he be able to put up points like that on daily nights? Like, can Karis LeVert, this is his moment to actually be the star that they're looking for. I love Brogdon. Brogdon is a great point guard for them. He just needs someone that compliment him. That's what LeVert's supposed to come in.
Right. And when you look at the Charlotte Hornets, at one point, the Charlotte Hornets, they were the 8th seed, and all they needed was one win.
Yeah.
One win to be able to qualify for the play-in game as the 7 versus 8. And they lost 5 straight. And so now they're in a position to where one loss and your season is over. So the Hornets kind of are on a slide here. They lost 5 straight games. They were in a position to be in that 7-8 play-in game, only need one game to advance.
Yeah, I've been pissed. They've been losing a lot. I'm a big LaMelo fan, though.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the absence of Gordon Hayward has contributed as well to why the Hornets have been struggling so much.
I agree. Like, he gives them that veteran leadership, and he gives them another reliable scorer.
Yeah, they 8-16 since he sprained his foot April 2nd. So they've been struggling without a veteran presence like a Gordon Hayward. Again, someone who's battle tested and who's played in big games. Not a superstar. Make no mistake about it, not a superstar, but I think Gordon Hayward's a good player, like a CJ McCollum. Like, he's like that. He can contribute and give you, nice quality minutes.
I probably take CJ over Gordon.
I probably would too, but it's close. It ain't no significant gap between them.
He's a better scorer.
Hayward can play.
I think CJ got the over him on the better score.
Yeah, slightly. but not that much though. Hayward can play now.
Yeah.
I don't see no Hayward. But who are you picking to win this game? You got Hornets or Pacers. The game is going to be played in Indiana, by the way.
I'm a big LaMelo Ball fan though, but this matchup is going to be a toss in the water for real. It's going to be a toss up. Right. If I had to choose, I think I'm taking the Pacers though because they're more established than the Hornets, and I think they can control the game at their pace, and they be able to take off on their time and control everything around them. I think if they can get Sabonis in them and box scores and Karis LeVert shooting good, I think they can steal this one. They can win this one flying circles.
Oh man, everything basically leads me to want to pick the Pacers because on the road this year, the Hornets are 15-21. So they've been an awful team on the road. They play much better at home. And they got one of the best announcers in the NBA. I don't know if you've ever listened to him make his calls, but he's a great announcer.
Want to be screaming,
yeah, man. Shout out to him, man. He's one of the best announcers we have.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, he's one of the best announcers that we have in our business. But I'm gonna roll with the Hornets to win this game. I got the Hornets advancing to play either the Wizards or the Celtics, which I believe will be the Wizards. You said it as well. We both got the Wizards winning over the Celtics, but I think it's going to be the Wizards and the Hornets in the play-in game to see who gets that final seed.
I agree.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a good matchup.
Actually, wait a minute. I'm sorry. It will be the Celtics. Yeah, it will be the Celtics versus the Hornets, but in the Celtics versus the Pacers for you. Yeah, because if the Wizards win, they advance.
Right.
Yeah, so that we got it right. Yeah, so I got the Hornets. He got the Pacers. We both rolling with the Wizards to beat the Celtics. Excited about the Eastern Conference play-in games. Everybody, remember go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_OH. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Big shout out to Dre Real Productions on the production side tonight. And everybody go and download that Worldwide Sports Network. We'll be back live on Wednesday, 7 p.m. to 8:30, and we won't be late. We promise. We promise to be on time.
Technical difficulties.
We promise to be on time.
We're here
this time. But excited for it. We're going to also break down the Western Conference play-in games on Wednesday.
Yes.
Everybody have a great, great night.
It's good to be back, baby.